Hey, good morning, everyone. We are on a continual experiment of technology. I am today using a wireless mic for the first time. So we're working on setting the levels, and there we go, and figuring out where I need to set it. So I guess we'll take your feedback. But welcome to Unity Center of Des Moines. We are so grateful to have you here. I know there's at least one new person in the audience today. If you're brand new here, if you feel like raising your hand, please do. If you don't, we welcome you and know that there are some welcome packets and mugs as you entered in. If maybe you're joining us online for the first time, know that Unity is a diverse community that is committed to living a positive spiritual path. We welcome you just as you are and recognize each person is on their own unique spiritual journey. You may hear us use words like love, light, divine, spirit, source, God, Jesus, whatever you want to call it. It's all narrowing down to the same thing that is the source of life that is within us and around us at all times. And we honor each person's own spiritual path. We love to begin with song. The opening song today happens to be one of my very favorites. So please feel free to join along. And you'll notice that many of the words are the same. It starts with I, then you, then we. Take it away, music team. For the slide. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now. You are free, you are unlimited. There are no chains that bind you. You are free, you are unlimited. Right now, right now. You are free, you are unlimited. There are no chains that bind you. You are free, you are unlimited. Right now, right now. We are free, we are unlimited. There are no chains that bind us. We are free, we are unlimited. Right now, right now. We are free, we are unlimited. There are no chains that bind us. We are free, we are unlimited. Right now, right now. Yes, we are right now. I find that song is a pick-me-up every time I might be feeling limited in some way. I sing that to myself and it just gets all a little lighter. So hopefully you can use that as a tool too. Announcements today. You may have noticed as you entered in that there are some sign-up sheets. The potluck and annual meeting is next week, next Sunday. And also the holiday decorating. Lenore and her partner Dan have been doing some work getting stuff ready. You may notice that the leaves have been cleared out. I don't know why my mic is. It's just going in and out. All right, well, that's why we're experimenting. And before we have a speaker, we're doing it with me. So we had someone volunteer to do the leaves, and he did a fantastic job. We really appreciate all of our volunteers that help make everything around here run and go smoothly. So we could use some more help with the holiday decorating, and there's a sign-up sheet back there, and then we'll do the tree on November 23rd, the Sunday before Thanksgiving. Tomorrow night, there is a very special event. We're having guest musicians for the 1111 portal. They are Astara and Orion. They are incredible sound healers, and they are going to be filling this room and this building with healing sound tomorrow evening. The event is 6 to 8:30 p.m. You can still pre-register. There are details on our website. If you go to the email burst on our website, unitycenter.com, if you got our email, it's there. And there's also a Facebook event on the Facebook Unity page. So multiple ways that you can find out the details. Highly recommend. I will be here and hope to see you too. I mentioned next weekend, November 17th, we're having the potluck, the annual meeting, but that is not all. At 5:15, there will be Kirtan with Deb Jennings, is sacred chanting. We've had a little bit of it when Jyotsana Mon came and demonstrated. It's more of that. And at 6:30 p.m. is the gong meditation. So if you want cacao, please let Deb know by Saturday night. Her intuition is strong, but it's not as great as when you let her know that you're coming. So let her know by Saturday night, because she goes through a whole sacred ritual and blessing of that beverage. It is the best in town. I've tried people's, and hers is amazing. So highly recommend that. Are there any other special announcements that I may have not known about or forgotten? Okay, well, just a brief run through of weekly events. Deja leads a restorative yoga at 5:30 p.m. on Mondays, right here in the sanctuary. Deb has her midday gong meditation on Tuesdays. Michael, who's our speaker today, leads Tai Chi in the sanctuary on Wednesdays at 6:30. And then Sundays before the service, 9 to 10 a.m., we have a book club where we're going over the Boundaries book and then having a heart-to-heart discussion with each other about what comes up regarding that. So lots of opportunities to get together throughout the week. You can see all events on the website, UnityDesMoines.com. And then please, if you have not already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Unity Center Des Moines, because that helps get our traffic and visibility up. So if you can see past recordings as well, that's why this little camera's up here and why it took me a minute to get the service going today.
Is Deja having that tomorrow night with the Star?
Oh, so tomorrow, Deja's not going to have restorative yoga because, thank you, Deb, because of the 11/11 event. She let her regular people know and she canceled it on Facebook, but thank you for that. Tomorrow's Monday night.
Yes.
So not having both, or just having the sound event. Hopefully Deja will be there. Okay, well, I think we're ready for our statement of faith. It will show up on the screen here. There is only one power active in my life and in the universe, the divine source of all life and love. Next is the unity affirmation, and as we say that, if we can really drop into that feeling of oneness. Unity of Des Moines is a radiating center of the divine light, mighty to attract its good and to radiate good to others. And with that goodness within us, I invite you to uncross your hands and your legs and imagine love and healing light from source channeling through you and out to this list of people who we need to keep in our prayers this week. Greg, Brittany, Amy, JR, Eric, Kelly, Jess, Paul and Phyllis, Roger Howell and family, myself and my birth family, Rob, Rachel, Shane, Sue, Mary Jo, Melinda, Ted, Christina, Seal, Chris, Deb, Linda, Susan, and people with struggles we know nothing about.
Let's take this opportunity to meditate together.
Let the furniture that you're sitting in support you fully and let your body relax into it. And I invite you to connect with the memory of who you truly are. And connect with source energy by whatever name you use for source. Let that connection be clear. Take a deep breath in of peace and calm and relaxation. And breathe out anything unlike peace, calm, or relaxation. If you are feeling any fear about anything, remember to choose love. And breathe in that love. And let anything no longer serving you go on your out breath. Feel the oneness that we are as community. Feel gratitude for the love and the support we give to one another. And trust in divine order, knowing that even when a situation looks like there are not blessings in it, they are there for our soul's growth. And we trust in that. We surrender and let go. And we do our best to love what arises. And just continue to focus on your breath. Let the body relax. And follow the sounds of the chime into the silence. As you gently begin to bring your awareness back, taking this beautiful space that we are blessed to meet in every week, with all of your senses, feel gratitude for the space of this community. Know that any time you feel anxious or stressed, or don't feel connected in the oneness, you can return to your breath and breathe in and out, and have that connection with Source again. And let it guide you in all that you do.
Oh, thank you, Deb. The daily word for today, Sunday, November 10th, is taken from 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 16, which says, "As servants of God, live as free people, yet do not use your freedom as a pretext for evil." Freedom is my spiritual birthright. I live my freedom when I speak my mind, pursue my dreams, and live with dignity and self-respect. It means I am self-directed and I use my spiritual gifts of understanding, faith, love, and strength to guide my decisions and actions. As I do, I feel free. I do what I can to support freedom for myself and others. I honor and give thanks for all those whose courage and dedication and service have helped build and sustain a world
where all people can know true freedom. In prayer, I envision a harmonious human community that assures everyone's basic needs are met, respects differing viewpoints, and celebrates the unique expression of God that each person is. The affirmation that goes along with this, I'll say it once and then if we can all say it together, is this: the Christ within is my source of freedom. The Christ within is my source of freedom. All right, let's have another song. This is You Are the Light of the World. And again, feel free to sing along. Let your light shine. I think one of the things Michael's known for is you are the light of the world. And he said it so many times in his talk that now that's associated with him in my mind. So Michael Kolbeck, our very own, is back to talk about You Are the Way, the Truth, and the Life. Yes, you are. Please welcome Michael Kolbeck.
Thank you, Stevie. I gotta do my little housekeeping things here, you know. Because that You Are the Light of the World, yeah, we don't want to have another one of those, right? I think that was 40 minutes. We're not doing that. We won't do that today. It was a good message, but yeah, 40 minutes. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm excited to be here today because it's cool enough out for me to wear my flannel. Yeah. Right? So I just decided that's what I'm wearing today. And yeah, feels pretty good. So as Stevie had mentioned in a previous message, I spoke on You Are the Light of the World. Today we're going to speak on I Am the Way, the Truth, and the Life. And we're going to dig into that just a little bit. So I think we have up here, we have this Ascension picture. If you want something to focus on, you can focus on that when I'm talking today. We're going to kind of be making our way a little bit to what this means. This is actually the cover of my album. I haven't put it out yet. I haven't released anything yet, but I thought, hey, this just fits for what we're talking about today. So there may not be as much personal story in my message today as what I usually give, but I promise it'll still be good nonetheless. And I just wanted to call out, I'm speaking again, I believe it's on December 10th, I think. That will start off with some personal story in there. And it is really going to be about my love-hate relationship with the Bible. So I'm looking forward to that one just because this one kind of parlays into that a little bit. So on that one, on December 10th, my love-hate relationship with the Bible, it kind of parlays then into as well, what if nothing has gone wrong and everything that has occurred is exactly what was needed. So that's where we'll go at that point. But today, we're going to get back into I'm the way, the truth, and life. As many of you know, I was raised fundamental Christian, where the Bible was taught literally. And went on then to Christian college, got an AA in Bible, all that good stuff, which was very useful in the real world. So what if the Bible, though, was written allegorically or symbolically? It's a different perspective than what you find in most places, but one that has a lot of merit. It doesn't mean that it's not true in a literal sense, but it certainly means that there's deeper truths if you look a little bit under the cloak. So today, if you want, I am not here to deconstruct anybody's beliefs. That's traumatic for people. So that is not my intent at all. My intent at all today is to share what if there's another possibility? What if there's something deeper that you can look at, that you can take with you? You don't have to get rid of any of your existing beliefs, or maybe something from your existing beliefs just merges in to a new perspective, and it becomes something new altogether. It was interesting because I don't usually share the Facebook posts of when I'm speaking. I've only started to do that recently. I think it's kind of like, okay, I'm comfortable with it now. If people show up out of my life that and hear me speak, great. So I shared this one the other day, and I noticed I got a response from an old high school friend, and he commented, "An associate of arts in Bible? Obviously, you don't believe the Bible. Our existence isn't rooted in man, as this post expresses. You, man, is not the way." And it was interesting because as I read that, I felt that surge in me like that,
Yeah.
like, how dare you? Who are you to question me, And that's okay, because we all have those moments like that. I took a little breath before I responded and just said, well, it's interesting that you think you know what I believe. And hey, you can watch it online if you want. I just left it at that for him. But we all have those moments, so, I don't want anybody berating themselves for moments like that. It's just part of our natural human side. So as Stevie mentioned, I spoke previously on the proclamation that you are the light of the world. Most of us don't argue with the sentiment because of the way it is worded. But in all honesty, we have trouble accepting that truth. At least for me, I had trouble accepting that truth because what I'd been taught so much was you're a wretched sinner and all this great stuff, right? If you look at yourself and you view yourself as that way because you've been told that over and over and over, and then they're like, oh, by the way, there's also this verse here that says you are the light of the world. Well, you've already got embedded in your subconscious and everything in your belief system that you're a sinner, that you're unworthy, that you're no good. So immediately then when you're told you are the light of the world, you're like, yeah, I'm not buying it. Because it doesn't fit. So you have this cognitive dissonance that's been created within you. Not only did Jesus state in Matthew 5:14 that you are the light of the world, but in John 8:12 it reads as follows. When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Interesting how Jesus proclaims that you are the light of the world when he's speaking to the multitudes, right? And then yet he proclaims, I am the light of the world. If you are the light of the world and he is the light of the world, doesn't that mean that you are or can be just like Jesus? Some people may think that's a little bit of a stretch, but we're going to go through some stuff here to put it together a little bit better. All right. After all, Jesus says in John 14:12, truly, truly, I tell you, whoever believes in me will also do the works that I am doing. He will do even greater things because I am going to the Father. And then we come to John 14:6. This is everybody's favorite verse, right? Jesus answers them and he says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. The way I was taught is that means that you, Michael, have to go through Jesus in order to get to the Father. There's a dependency built in there. You can't get to the Father on your own. You can't access the Father on your own. You need this external person of Jesus. But what I notice that's interesting is there's that I am again. And when you place the you are the light of the world with I am the light of the world, and you start looking at what is going on here exactly, we want to look at this from a symbolic or allegorical standpoint, from a mystical standpoint. And what I find interesting about this is we like to esteem the saints of old. And yet if you really dig into what those saints believed, most of those saints that we lift up would be considered mystics. They looked beyond just the literal cloak or the literal words. They looked at something deeper, and it comes through in their writings and in their expressions. So let's take a look at the first part of this verse. That's easy. So the first part of the verse here, he says, no one comes to the Father except through me, right? From a symbolic perspective, from a mystical perspective, Father is related to higher consciousness, Christ consciousness. God, divine, source, the all, the divine, all those words that we talk about every time we start one of these services, right? Father here is not a literal father. I had a reading yesterday at the metaphysical fair. And this woman says, okay, you're by this lake and your brother's there. And our minds instantly go to literal. At least mine does from the old programming. So, and she was quick to clarify. Now remember, this is not a literal interpretation. These are symbolic. These are allegorical, which I knew because I don't have a brother. I have a sister.
Yeah.
So it's very easy in that context to say, okay, this brother is representing something. It's an archetype of something. It's a symbol of something, right? So we look at Father, that's higher consciousness. Now let's get into the I am portion of I am the way, the truth, the life. Where does I am originate in the Bible? Does it have any special significance? Well, if we look at Exodus chapter 3 with Moses and the burning bush, a story we all know so well, Moses is in the desert. He's tending sheep. He's up on Mount Horeb, which, by the way, in Scripture, it specifically states is called the mountain of God. Moses notices a burning bush, and for some reason, the bush isn't burning up. He's wondering why, so he goes over to check it out. And God begins to speak from the bush, and he is telling Moses to go to the Pharaoh, as it is now time to bring the Israelites out of Egypt. This is the classic let my people go moment that everything is building up to. So Moses is conversing with God about what God has asked him to do in Exodus 3, starting in verse 13. And Moses says to God, because this is what we would all do, right? God's having a conversation with him. He's asking him to do something. Moses says to God, yeah, suppose I go to the Israelites and I say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you. And they ask me, oh, really? So what's his name? Then what shall I tell him? Now, to me, Moses is looking for a way out, right? It's like, I don't want to do this. So God says to Moses, I am that I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, "This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation." So there we have it, direct from the Bible itself, right? God's eternal name is I am. So Moses does what he asks. He leads the Israelites out of Egypt, and then for some reason they wander around the desert for 40 years because they can't find their way out. So Moses is still having conversations with God when we get up to Exodus 25, and God instructs them to build a tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant. So a tabernacle is just a word simply meaning temple. Let's face it, they were wandering the desert. So God is like, I need a place that I can dwell in. I want you to build me these things. I'm going to give you these very specific instructions on how to do that. And the tabernacle is basically a portable temple as they were wandering around the desert. He has them make a sanctuary, and he says, I will dwell among them. If you build this and build this to my specifications, then I will dwell among them. So they build the tabernacle, they build the ark, exactly to the specifications that God showed them on the mountain. And if we go back and we start breaking this all down, there's a whole bunch of other things that is depicted in these scriptures about what should adorn the tabernacle, about what the layout of the tabernacle should be, about what the look and feel of the Ark of the Covenant should be. They're all very specific. But before we get into that, let's look at a few things from a symbolic perspective again. How many of you have ever been in the desert of your life? We all know what that means, right? You're confused. You don't know which way to go. You're like the Israelites wandering around. You should surely be able to find your way out. This desert isn't that big. It certainly shouldn't take 40 years. But since you don't know where to go, you just wander around in circles. The desert here represents the same thing. When they're speaking of the Israelites wandering around in the desert and all this stuff taking place in the desert, there was confusion. They didn't know which way to go. The mountain represents, again, that higher consciousness. And the burning bush, the fire, represents spirit and wisdom. So they make it out of the desert. They settle out in the land of Israel. And later they build the Temple of Solomon. And then later after that, because the Temple of Solomon gets destroyed, they subsequently build the Temple of Herod. Again, these temples that they built had the same specifications as what the tabernacle did, which was directed by the pattern that God laid forth. It's interesting because the temple and the tabernacles both consisted of an outer sanctuary where those of Israel could come and they could enter in. But further in was the Holy of Holies, like a separate room. And only the priest was allowed to go into the Holy of Holies. And within the Holy of Holies was the Ark of the Covenant. And then within the Ark of the Covenant is the dwelling place of I Am, the dwelling place of God. See, what Moses created with the tabernacle, the ark, etc., it was not only a man-made physical structure built to the exact specifications from God, but also a representation of the human body and the specific parts of the human body. Isn't it curious, in relation to the trial of Jesus, that Jesus says in John 2, verses 18 through 20, the Jews then responded to him, "What sign can you show us to prove your authority to do all of this?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days." And they replied, "Are you crazy? It's taken 46 years to build this temple." They were talking about the temple of Herod. "And you are going to raise it in 3 days." And the scripture says, these are not my words, but the temple he had spoken of was his body. If you take everything literal, it's like, well, why is that in there? Why would they tell you? Why are they trying to point out specifically that the temple he is speaking of is his own body, not the physical structure of the temple of Herod? Not only is your body the temple, but we have a very specific place on our skulls called our temples, right? It's the fusion point of 4 different bones. Each one of those bones has a specific, then even the name of the bone points to specific symbology there. But we have our temple. And who dwells within the temple? The I Am. And in the temple, there is the Ark of the Covenant that's in that Holy of Holies. So what does the Ark of the Covenant look like? Well, we're told from Scripture that there's 2 cherubims facing each other on top of the lid. Hopefully we've all seen pictures of this. Their wings spread out over the ark, covering and protecting that which lies beneath. What if there's a place in the human body that represents the Ark of the Covenant? If we look at our brain, that sits directly between our temples, made up of the left and right hemisphere. The covering of your brain is the cerebrum. Just as the cherubim covered something significant inside the Ark of the Covenant, so too does the cerebrum, which not only covers the left and right hemisphere of the brain, but some very important glands that serve as a link between our physical and our spiritual natures. One such gland being the pineal gland, also known as the third eye. This is what Jesus was referencing when he stated in Matthew 6:22, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, the whole body shall be full of light. And in 1 John 1:5, I think it is, we find the statement that God is light as well. So we know the tabernacle existed. We know these temples existed. We know the human body existed. And we know our brains exist, right? Is it possible then that the specific design and pattern laid out by God for the building of the tabernacle, the ark, all the items within it, was symbolic of the dwelling place of the I Am in relation to the temple of the body? Which would mean that the I Am sits within the Holy of Holies in the inner sanctum of the temple. In the New Testament, they talk about the upper room, which I always found curious. The upper room is also another analogy or representation of the tabernacle and the temple. And think about this, the hill that Jesus, the Christ, meaning the anointed one, was crucified on was called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. Funny, we have a skull? That's very interesting. In Matthew 7:13-14, there's a whole passage on enter by the narrow gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go in by it, because narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it. See, to me, it's difficult because we're taught to look outside of ourselves for this answer. We're taught specifically to look to the person of Jesus. Oh, Jesus, please take this and please do whatever for me. That's how we were taught. That's how I was taught. Jesus is sitting there going like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I'm pretty sure you have the power to take care of this by yourself. Or more to the point, to do as Jesus did, to go to the Father John 10 tells us the following. Where he says, Jesus said again, very, very, I truly say to you, I am the gate. I am the gate, and whoever enters through me will be saved. There's those words, I am, again. Those who come in and go out will find pasture. I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. Jesus is saying, whoever enters through me, referring to the I am, will be saved. He never said, follow me in such a way as to make himself necessarily the Savior or an idol, but basically to do as I've done. I have shown you the way. He wasn't saying, I am the way, I am the only way, as people like to interpret that verse, that you can't get there without Jesus. And think of this. Jesus talks about it's a narrow gate and it's difficult to find, and few there are who find it. And yet we have so many people out there in the world, and especially in the U.S. and Western civilization, that proclaim the name of Jesus, right? It seems like an awful lot of people. It doesn't seem like it's that hard to find the way, if that's truly the answer. But he says, broad and wide is the way or the path that leads to destruction. To me, that looks more like the broad path. If I just follow this dogma, if I just follow what I'm told to do, then I'll be saved. If I just follow this person, Jesus, in the term of the literal interpretation of what most people teach this verse, that you essentially abandon yourself and put yourself out there to follow specifically Jesus, because he's the only one that can save you, it feels as though maybe you were missing a big piece of what Jesus was trying to say. Even Jesus' disciples, they were confused with all of this. In John 14, where that famous verse is, Philip is sitting there talking to him. And Philip said, Lord, show us the Father. That will be enough for us. And Jesus replied, Philip, I've been with you like all this time, and still you do not know me. Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. I am the Father, and the Father is in me. The words I say to you, I do not speak on my own. Instead, it is the Father dwelling within me. The dwelling place of the I am. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. Jesus is saying here, he and the Father are one. He gives more specific direction and instructions through the scriptures, saying, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. If you have been around me, you know the way. I have already shown you the way. And he's distinct in his terminology in terms of saying that he himself, the person of Jesus, is not necessarily the way. Jesus is recognizing the greater aspect of self, the part that is not just Jesus, the part that is the I am flowing through him, living through him. That same part that each and every one of us has access to within. By climbing to the top of the mountain, by going within, climbing to the top of the mountain, in that place of solitude is the dwelling place of the I am. I look at this and I think, how did I miss this all of those years? And it was a bit infuriating, to tell you the truth. And yet I look at this and I go, how is it that, who's the people I have the strongest relationships with now in my life? And what has changed in my life? What I used to do when I had relationships with people is I was over there, right? Abandoning myself, basically, in order to please that person, in order to get whatever I needed from that person in a subconscious way. I wasn't present here. It was like Michael didn't really exist. I'm just here to serve this other person. And I find the same thing to be true a little bit when you speak of a relationship with Jesus or a relationship with God. If you're saying, I need this Jesus person out here to fix everything, to save everything, to make me feel whole, that is no different than what I was doing, looking at people to be my saviors. And then I found out, wait a minute, all of this is within me. And when I started connecting deeper into myself and connecting to myself, connecting up through that I am presence within myself, I was able to kind of see myself clearly. And instead of needing something from these other people in my life, expecting them to fill that void, we've all heard the thing that says, accept Jesus because there's a cross-shaped hole in your heart, and you need that cross to fill that hole within your heart. That's what I was doing with all these people in my life. I was trying to get them to fill this space inside of me that only I can fill. I can only fill that by connecting up with the divine itself within this temple that has been built for me. Even after the years with Jesus, the disciples still did not understand. And yet, in time, they would find their way as well. That is Jesus' message to you. That you are indeed the light of the world. That you are the way, the truth, and the life. When you find your way through the narrow gate and access the power of the I am that dwells within this temple. There are lots of temples built across the world. The Temple of Luxor is one of them in Egypt that is laid out specifically to represent the human body. The same type of thing that you find with the tabernacles and the temples in Israel. Representations of the human body. If you would, as we come to a close here, just take a moment and repeat after me. And again, it's okay if you don't want to. Maybe this is a perspective that is difficult to entertain, and that's okay. If you are willing, simply repeat after me. I am the way.
I am the way.
I am the truth.
I am the truth.
I am the life.
I am my life.
No one comes to the Father
No one comes to the Father
except through me.
except through me.
And that Father, again, is symbolic. No one comes to the higher consciousness except through your own self. You are the narrow gate. Ascending within to the dwelling place of the I am. You are one with the I am, just as Jesus and the Father are one. Thank you.
Michael. If we could also have a round of applause for Andrew that's up in the sound booth, helping us through everything. I appreciate, Michael, that you said you're not here to deconstruct anyone's beliefs.
Right.
And it's been helpful in my journey to just give myself permission. What if I allowed myself to look at it this way? So if anybody's watching or here, my brain's short circuiting a little bit. So thank you for that message and that perspective. If you would like to share your resources with the Unity Center of Des Moines, now is your opportunity to do so. Whether you're like me and don't really carry cash, or maybe you're joining us online, there are also options to donate via Venmo. There's a little scan card inside the basket, and once you have it, a donation gone through, then it's easy to do it later. And also on our website, unitydesmoines.com, there's a donate button. But whether your contributions are of a financial, spiritual, energetic, or physical level, we want to offer this affirmation. We'll say it all together. I am infinitely abundant. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I thankfully acknowledge the divine source. Oh, Deb, what a gift you are. Thank you so much for putting on that gift of music for us. I would like to dedicate this offering to do the work of spirit and truth through the people of Unity of Des Moines, and we are grateful. Thank you so much, everyone. And now Deb will lead us in the universal greeting of peace from the Gandhi Foundation. Sometimes people like to stand up as she leads us through the hand motions. Go ahead, Deb.
I offer you peace.
I offer you peace.
I offer you love.
I offer you love.
I offer you friendship.
I offer you friendship.
I see your beauty.
I see your beauty.
I hear your needs.
I hear your needs.
I feel your feelings.
I feel your feelings.
My wisdom flows from the higher source.
My wisdom flows from the higher source.
And I salute that source in you.
And I salute that source in you.
Let us work together for unity and love.
Let
Let us work together for unity and love.
Thank you.
All right, well, that concludes our service. So we'll do our closing song. If you'd like to create a great big circle around the room, we usually hold hands. If you do not feel like holding hands, you can put your hands over your heart. We do have the gift of some delicious treats in the community room. And all join together. The light of the divine surrounds us. The love of the divine enfolds us. The power of the divine protects us. The presence of the divine watches over us. Wherever we are, the divine is, and all is well. Thanks again, everyone. Enjoy International. See you next week.